is Noreen from Joy of Cards, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Yay! For more of my card videos, please click that subscribe and the little bell, and you'll be notified when I release a video, which is a couple times a week. So anyway, today's video is a watercoloring tutorial using In the Country. And these are cute. I made little note cards, and I'm putting these up on my joyacards.com shop. And I'm going to be selling these. They're going to be 10 cards with the envelopes. And so if you want to buy those, I'm going to put one up now, but I'll make it back orderable. So if somebody else wants to order them, then I can just make another set. I'm also going to utilize the thank you from Something Fancy because I really liked the size of it. And it's also a new stamp set from the new mini catalog. So let's go ahead and get started. So it is a note card, and a note card is a size A1, and I'm going to put all the dimensions in the description of the video. And you get to the description by going to the title of the video, click down on that little arrow, and it's like more and show more and all that. And everything will pop up of everything I've used, all the colors I'm using, all the tools, and the sizes of an A1 card. So an A1 is a 3.5 by 4 and 7/8. And then you need to know its shadow and all that, because I shadowed this, but inside here I took 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch. And you know, when you're dealing with weird sizes like 4 and 7/8, it can get really confusing when you're cutting it. It's like, oh yeah. So I'll have those in the description there so you can access it. So I went ahead and I pre-did the bases, because it's really not about the bases, it's about the watercoloring. So I got my A1, and I've got the shadow, which is 3 3/8 by 4 3/4. And then inside, since they're note cards, they're blank, totally blank. They're a note card. And I made those 3 1/4 by 4 5/8, you see. And the white is 3 by 4 3/8. Now on this one, this is Cajun Craze and black, and then this one we've got Garden Green and black, and then black and white on the insides. So let's get to our front piece. So here's the front pieces uninked, and these are, since they're front pieces, they are going on top of the black here. They accent really nicely. So this card is 3 1/4 by 4 5/8. So I went ahead and stamped them, and I used StazOn because we're going to be using watercolor, so we don't want that black to interfere with any of the color. Now, if you're pumping out a lot of these, use your Stamparatus. Just set it up, and then you can whip them out and just change your plates for the different stamps. But they're in StazOn. Like I said, I did use the thank you from Something Fancy. It's in the new catalog. And if you need a new mini catalog and Sale-a-Bration catalog, go ahead and email me, Noreen@joyofcards.com, or put in a comment, hey, I would like a catalog. Leave your email address so I can contact you and get your mailing address. So here are the 2 pieces. Now we're going to be using the water painter, and this particular one is a 3-pack. It has 3 different sizes of the brush here, and this one is the pointy one, the finest one, and we want that because we're doing something that's really quite small. So you want the pointy one. I almost use this one exclusively anyway. And by the way, if you haven't used your StazOn in a while, go ahead and re-ink it, because the blacker you can get the background, the better. And these are also in the description of my video. There's a bit.ly link to go to my Stampin' Up! Direct site, which is always great because, you know, I do these videos. Hey, place an order, right? I also am an Amazon affiliate. I am completely checked out. All my links are safe. You're not going to go to some China spam. And anything that's not Stampin' Up! That you see in my video will be listed there, like my glass here, if magnets for your dies, paper folders, all kinds of the basic stuff that, I mean, I can't live without. And even if you don't buy, if you just go on one of my Amazon links and click on it, what it does is it directs Amazon to me. So if you don't buy anything, get out and just place your normal kind of stuff on Amazon. Jeff Bezos gets to give up some of his profits to a little business like me. So I am that affiliate. So hey, go on, click a link, and then get out and buy a card. You know, whatever. So anyway, re-ink your StazOn because you'll get a better look. So let's get to watercoloring. So here's the stamp set in Sale-a-Bration. It's on page 12. And if you look at the stamp, because we're going to start with the little Tuscany little wall here. And they've got it like an almost like a pink color. And I was looking at like a Tuscany type of building, and it's not so pink. And I didn't particularly care for the colors. Plus, we're not going to use watercolor pencils. We're going to actually watercolor this. So grab yourself a paper towel and that fine tip brush. Make sure you got water in it. And we're going to start with crumb cake. So we're going to use crumb cake. We are going to use early espresso, soft suede, and believe it or not, pumpkin pie. And we're going to make something not so orangey, but more of a Tuscany kind of look. So first, we're going to start with the lightest color. Always start with the lightest color. And I like to use like a Stampin' pad and kind of hold my lid under here because we're going to be using this open like this. Now, make sure you've got some water going down. Now, the thing about these kind of water painters is that sometimes they leak around the seal here. So make sure when you're paused that you don't hold it over your piece because you might drip some water on it and make a problem for yourself. So I made sure that there is water in the end here, and you can even go on your lid here and kind of squeeze it and see what's coming out here. And make sure there's not too much water. You want it wet, but not too wet, okay? And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to paint the whole wall in this one color, avoiding where the greenery is. Now, there's two kinds of ways you can do this. In this card, I didn't put any greenery around the door. And this one, I did put the greenery around the door. And I'm just debating which one I like better. Maybe I like the greenery around the door. So we'll do the greenery around the door one rather than the other one. So try to, when you're doing this, avoid that spot where the greenery is. Now, as you're watercoloring, you really, I mean, it might take you a little practice if you haven't used this watercolor pen before, or I'm sure every watercolor pen is different. It's not like it's a piece of technology. So kind of get used to how your watercolor disperses that water, because like I said, it can leak, or if you don't have it screwed on all the way, it can give you some little issues. But once you got it down, they're easy to use. So, and then you just have to kind of play with the ink water ratio, and your ink pads will all be different too. It depends on how well inked they are. If they're kind of dry, mine have a tendency to be dry because I do a lot of blending, then you might have to put a little more ink in there, and then you have to kind of see how it distributes. So use your lid. So I'm going down here toward this greenery, and I am giving it lots of room because we're going to go back and forth anyway, and that's okay. And I just put more ink on here, and I got, I think, a little bit more than I needed. So I'm going to go down to a spot that I know it's going to be dark anyway, just to kind of make sure that I don't put it on a spot that I want it to be light. So down toward the shadows and everything is where I kind of test it. And if it looks like the end of your nib is just too full of water, just take your paper towel and just kind of touch it, just to make sure you're not overdoing it. We're also going to do the steps here. It's all in this crumb cake, and we are going to be layering these colors because everything isn't all just one color unless you're doing like a cartoon. See, I don't have enough water in here. If it gets a little dry, put some more water in it, but just make sure that you're not over watering. Like I said, it just You have to get to know your particular water painter and just get the habit of doing it. See, I put a little bit too much ink on there, so I'm going to put some on the steps because I know that I'm going to need more ink there. I'm also going to give it some ground here. Okay. And so I'm going to continue to do the wall here. And I might speed up the video. Usually I just cut and then come back, but I might speed it up. And then we'll start the next layer. Now that I'm done with crumb cake for the moment, and might go back, because you're gonna, even when it's done, you might want to go back and maybe fix something you don't like. But in between colors, you do want to clean your brush because you're gonna dip it in here, and I don't want to contaminate anything. So I just cleaned off my brush a little bit, and now we're going into pumpkin pie. Now I was trying to make it Tuscany without making it pink like they did in the catalog. They made this really pink. And I'm sure that's probably Calypso Coral. But I'm going to go in with some pumpkin pie right over that crumb cake. Just be really careful. Pumpkin pie is a dark color. So you don't want to put on too much, but you do want to put that color in there. Because that's what I see when I see Tuscany, as I see orange and not so much pink. Let me know if you disagree. Put something in my comments saying, no, I see pink. It's like, okay. So I'm going to do this. Also, I am selling, like I said before, on my joyacards.com. These 10 note cards will be there. Now, oh, by the way, I'm not putting the orange on the ground, just the building. So don't put it on the ground here. I am selling these 10 cards in a pack, and it will be the cards and the envelopes. And you go to joyacards.com, then click on there. Either if you're on a cell phone, there'll be 3 lines at the top. Click on that and it'll pull up my shop, or if you're on a computer, it'll say shop. And once you pull up shop, then there's 2 places to shop. Shop Stampin' Up goes directly to my Joya Cards .stampinup.net, and that's my direct site. Or my Joya Cards site is Shop Joya Cards, and then go to cards. I also have retired items on there, so if you go to retired, you get all the retired items, because I don't use anything retired in my videos. So if you see something, you can get it, unless it's like an old video, of course. But then go to cards, and then they'll be listed there for 10. I'm only making 1 cent now, but I'm making it back orderable. So if I get another order for it, then I'll just make 10 more. So I'm just putting on a little bit more orange here, just for the heck of it. And then now to the next color. So remember to get that orange off your pen. And next color we're going to do is Early Espresso. Now we are going to also use Soft Suede, but I want to put the Early Espresso on first. And I'm just getting that tip of the watercolor pen here because I'm going to be doing some detailing. So I'm going to take all these little notches in the wall. I am emphasizing with the Early Espresso. And this is where you're going to get in also the highlights, like on the step in the front where all the lines are. I'm doing those in Early Espresso. Also the side of the planter, and then inside of that little water thing here, inside that, the edges of the wall. And you definitely want to start with that light color first, like the crumb cake, pumpkin, and then this. Don't start with Early Espresso. Your lines will look too exaggerated. Also the inside of the door frame here, because that's a dark place. So anywhere you think it would be dark, use the Early Espresso. And I'm going to do the steps here some more. And going down. And the front of the wall. I'm also going to take this and put a bunch of water in it. Not too much. And do the ground. Okay. And then do the edge of the wall here. And this little triangle on the ground there. And we're going to blend this out some more. So, and even after when we switch colors, we'll blend a little bit more. Get some more accent on the cracks in the wall. And just kind of see where you think that you would need something. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to switch color again. I clean my brush. Now I'm going into soft suede. And I'm going to kind of test my color here a little bit. And I'm going to go over the wall again. So on spots that you think that might be a little bit too orangey, hit it with your soft suede. Also go over the early espresso in those like cracks in the wall. Just kind of even it out. Now I left a big space around the green part because I can make that greenery a little bigger than what the actual stamp does. I'm also going to do the ground here, get a little more wet and give it some more color. And then go over the wall, go over the early espresso, really kind of blend that in. Get the wall again. Get the wall again. So it is Sale-a-Bration time. If you are interested in either getting Stampin' Up discounts, or if you want to be a demonstrator, this is the time to do it because they are having some major deals with, here I'll show you with Sale-a-Bration right now. You can earn die cutting machines. You can spend $129. You get the die cutting machine for free and $175 worth of product. Or you could choose not to get the die cutter and spend $99 and get $175 worth of product. But it's only till the end of February. So if you want to take advantage of it, that's great. Because, I mean, you get a 20% discount right away. And you don't have to do card classes or YouTube videos or anything like that. You can just do it for the discount. And I think most people do. So that's the time to do it. And I have a huge group. If you are interested in like doing the whole thing, I have a group of 40 or 50 other women. We meet monthly. In fact, we just had our meeting this morning. And I mean, you are totally involved in whatever's going on with Stampin' Up, and it's great. And we have a technical person that can help you with the internet and all those other good things. So now I'm going to clean my brush again. And we're going to do the door and the pots. And the door, the first color I'm going to use is Cajun Craze. And I'm going to get it all inked up here. Put some water in it, test my color, and start on the door. Just like that, because I thought Cajun Craze went well with Tuscany. I kind of got a Tuscany kind of house because my cabinets in my kitchen are cherry. And the only thing really you can match with cherry in terms of like your flooring and all that is either neutrals, like beiges and browns and stuff, or red, or green. I didn't want green because I didn't want a Christmas house. And then this kind of color. So there's Cajun Craze. And then I'm going to put in Cherry Cobbler. And now you do have to be careful with the Cherry Cobbler because it's dark. So make sure that you don't have too much water on there. And kind of test it in an area that you know is going to be dark. And just kind of give it a little Cherry Cobbler. I might grab a little bit more. And just kind of give it that layered color. And then we're going to use early espresso, believe it or not. Clean the brush in between. Get all that red off because I don't want to contaminate my lid here. Okay, and I'm going to go in and do the, oops, I have too much water, see? Just hold it on the paper towel. I'm going to take it straight off the pad and do the detail on the door in early espresso. Make sure there's not too much water. Give it a little bit on the pot. Getting too much water again. And just watch that water coming out of these things because they can be a little on the, you know, they're not, it's not technology. It's kind of silly. Okay, and I'm going to blend a little bit over, make it a little dirtier looking, just like that. Now we're going to do the greenery. I'm going to make sure that red and the early espresso are completely off my blending pen or my brush here. And I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz, and we're going to cover all the greenery in Pear Pizzazz. So I did choose to do green around the door. Like I said, on 2 of the cards here, they don't have greenery around the door and to do, and I thought, either way, it's fine. So there's a little greenery here, and Pear Pizzazz is really light. It's going to serve as our base. And I am going to fill the white areas that I missed with the crumb cake for the original wall here with the green, because we're just going to make it look like it's a little more full than it actually is. And we're just giving it, and there's a pot on the wall here, don't forget that. And we're just going to fill in the whole thing. And the thing about watercoloring, it is not an exact kind of painting, so you can go out of the lines here, and that's even better. So I'm doing the Pear Pizzazz, and now the next color. I clean your brush, okay? And this one is Granny Apple Green. This is where it really pops, the green. The Pear Pizzazz is like the background, and this is more like where you would see the leaves. And I'm kind of dotting it. I don't want to spread it too much. Just make sure when you do that, you don't have too much ink and water. So I'm dotting it here. And the reason why I'm using so many colors is, like I said before, not everything's one color. So you don't want to make something a solid unless it's a cartoony kind of thing. So I'm just kind of just dabbing it all over. Don't forget the pots and the pot on the wall. And do around the door. Put a little bit more here. And your paper will soak in a little bit of this. Now, I'm not using watercolor paper. I'm just using basic white. I kind of don't like the watercolor paper because it's textured. You know, because it's watercolor paper, so I get it. But I don't like it. I don't like using it. If I can avoid it, I will. But if you want to use it, plus it's not as white. And I like the contrast of the white and the black here. So there's Granny Apple Green. I'm going to clean my brush again, make sure there's not too much water on. And we're going to go into Garden Green. Garden Green will be dark. And I'm using this to kind of do like maybe like a vine kind of thing. So I'm kind of going on the vines just to get that effect possibly. Okay. No, not the leaves, but the stems. And I'm just putting in a little bit because it is a little overwhelming. So just be careful. Just put in a tad. Make sure you don't put too much water and get that brush really kind of pointy. Okay. Okay, just like that. Three, two, one. Clean your brush again. And we're going to go in with a little Old Olive. I mean, this one's kind of optional, but I like having a lot of different colors. So I'm just going to fill in kind of maybe the white spots that I didn't get. Maybe around the wall and on the step. Just kind of fill it in. Okay, just like that. Now I'm going to clean my brush again. And the last thing I'm going to do with watercoloring it is I'm going to just fill in a couple of the blank spots that I noticed. Because I don't want any white showing. So I noticed that, you know, because I'm trying to be conservative around the greenery, that there's some white spots. And I don't want any white on this. And then maybe try to blend out the early espresso. But just get all the white spots covered here. Or if you need to blend something in a little better, then do that. Maybe around the greenery here. You can blend it in. Get in between those two pots. And there we go. So all we need to do is put it on our card base. Like I said, this is Cajun Craze and Black. The dimensions are on the description of the video. And then I also grabbed the matte black dots. And I just put a few little accents here because I thought it needed a little something, something. Now, if you put these on when you mail it, if you put it in the actual mail, you should take a piece of paper, run it on an embossing folder through it, and put it on top because these will poke through your envelope. You can also use the classic matte dots, which are even prettier, but I didn't have a lot of those. So now let's color the other card. Now let's color this one. I'm kind of using the same-ish colors, so that's really nice. Now, we're going to start with Pear Pizzazz again because it's a good light green, and you do want to start anything like this with your lightest color. Don't start with your darks. You'll regret it. And I'm going to fill in all the grass and the trees. Like for the trees, I'll just go right up on it. You don't have to really be too detailed with it. And try to get the darker color, like when you put your brush into the ink. Start on the bottom because it'll be the darkest on the bottom. And you want that dark color always on the bottom and then light as you go up. And I'm just going to fill in between the fence and then just the whole thing. Now, also, I didn't even notice at first, there's a green patch going down the middle of this road here. So don't forget that it's not all dirt. So this is all green. And don't forget the other side. And we're just going to cover this whole thing. And then we're going to be using a darker color for some accents. But get the whole thing, just all the green spots here. So you really got grass, road, and sky. Grass, road, sky, and fence. So this one isn't as detailed as the other one. Okay, so there's Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to clean my brush. And then I'm going to go in with Garden Green, just like I did the other one. And I'm going to make the accents and the shadowing. So I'm going to shadow the bottom of the tree line and that top of the grass line. So I'm not going to take it all the way up the tree, but kind of just on the bottom. I'm going to blend a lot of this out, so don't worry about it being too dark. And then I'm going to use that paint, the pointy side, the pointy tip of the painter, and put in the grass. And we're going to be doing some blending, so don't worry about it. And just put in all the grass. And then the grass line for the road. And you can either just draw a line or you can do some, you know, lines for the grass, for the road. And then the inside of the field. We're going to go up. And then maybe around the bottom of the fence posts here. Okay, now let's get that garden green off my brush. And we're going to go into Old Olive. And we're going to kind of blend it a little bit here. Not all the way, don't make it solid, you know, because just give it a little dimension. Just make sure there's not a lot of water on your painter. Sometimes it just kind of goes crazy. And we're going to blend out a little bit of this. Give it a little more color. Blend out that garden green because it's so dark. Just keep blending and blending. Get into the trees. You're going to really get into that middle part of the tree. Up here. Just like so. So clean off your brush again. And we're going into crumb cake. So I'm going to get some ink. And I'm going to cover the entire road and crumb cake. Now with the grasses, the only color I didn't use from the last one is I didn't use Granny Apple Green. It was just a little too bright, and I didn't want it bright. So, and remember, you got to stamp this in Stays On too. Don't use Memento, use Stays On. And then just kind of end the road kind of here. It doesn't have to be exact because it's watercoloring. So we're going to just put in the road, just like this. And then we're also going to hit the fence as a base in crumb cake. And then we're going to go over it with early espresso. Don't forget the fence goes kind of in the back here too, and that road. And just get just that base color. Okay. See any other spots you want to get. Make sure there's no white going on. And now to the next one. Clean my brush again. And now we're going into early espresso. Okay. I'm going to do the fence in early espresso. And just kind of cover it. Now we've got crumb cake on there. So if you miss a spot, it's still going to have that crumb cake, which is great. So just make sure there's no white. So just making that fence darker. Maybe darker on the bottom. Blend it out. Okay. Now I'm going to take the tip again. And I'm going to do the inside of the road. Do the inside, just all those little lines. Maybe the edge of the road right under that green. We're going to blend this out with the last color, so don't worry if it looks like a line. Now we'll fix it. And as you lose color, you can even go over the road a little bit more as well as your color kind of fades on your brush. Okay, like that. Clean your brush again, and we're going to mellow this all out with soft suede. Don't just test your color first. Make sure it's not too dark. We just want to blend it. We don't want to color it too much. Get rid of all that white. I'm just like getting rid of all that. Okay. Now let's do the sky. Definitely get that color off your brush before you put it into Balmy Blue. And we're only using Balmy Blue. It's fine. Now this one I do want it a bit wet because I want it to spread. And then when you initially get your color on your brush, start at the bottom. You want the darker color in between the trees. Try not to hit that green. In fact, on all the things that you're doing here, try not to mix like the green in with the early espresso, you know, things that are not supposed to be blending in. So avoid the green and just kind of take it up. I thought about clouds. It's like, you know, because there's going to be difference of color as you blend here, I don't think you need to. And then I have to remove my doggy DNA here. My dog gets into everything. A little bit of Buddy hair. My dog's name is Buddy. He's very cute. He's a spaz. I love him to death. And I'm just kind of spreading this out, and a little bit more water will make that sky a little bit more looking like sky. Just get rid of that white. Just hate the white. And there we go. Now if you want to go back into another color, like if you want to hit maybe some of the grass, because some of the grass is looking a little, I've got some white spots in there, so I'm going to take that Pear Pizzazz, because I know that'll fill in color without like putting too much emphasis on the fact that, you know, I added it after the fact. And just get rid of some of that stupid white. You can even hit like around the trees where you didn't get the blue. You can pull it in with the green because it's not an exact thing, you know. And I'm just getting rid of that white. And the thing about the Pear Pizzazz is it's not so dark, but it's darker than the blue, so it won't pull in that blue and like mix those colors too bad. And then along the road, in between the fence here, a lot of times I'll, you know, you're trying not to hit something, so you avoid it a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. Just fill in some white spots, just like so. Now all I have to do is put this on, and then we're going to put some embellishments on it just to make it look a little interesting. And I'm going to use the Rustic Metallic Adhesive Back Dots. It's like, what are they? They're not pearls, I know that. And they're not gems. It's like, what the heck are they? They're dots. So I'm just going to put some on the corners. Like I said, if you're putting these in the mail, either put a piece of paper over it that's been embossed, and that will take up some of the pokiness from the dots, or leave the dots off. So anyway, that's how I watercolored these note cards. They are on my shop, joyacards.com. Go to shop, then shop Joya Cards, and then cards, and they'll be there. So they'll include the envelopes and all that. So anyway, that will do it for me. Thanks. Bye.